from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Welcome to the first hour of our program tonight. We're live, we're national. It is Tuesday night, and our phone number, 833-4825-337, 833-4-VALDEZ. And last night we were playing you clips of the conversation between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. And after that, there was some hacking and there was all sorts of drama going on. But all that said, this thing got over 1 billion views last night. Isn't that crazy? Over 1 billion views. I think that's a pretty big deal. Speaking of big deals, I want to take a moment before I get into the rest of that story, to wish a farewell to a friend of mine, actor and comedian Angel Salazar. He died on Sunday, and I didn't say anything yesterday because I really had to get my thoughts together. And honestly, the guy was so full of life, I just couldn't believe it. And I really thought that because he was a funny guy, I thought he was going to come back and, kind of go, I pulled your leg, guys. I'm not really dead. That type of thing. He was very much like that. But he was known for playing Chi-Chi, the little guy, a little enforcer guy, alongside Al Pacino in the movie Scarface, and he was also in Carlito's Way and a number of other films. And he also starred in the Latino Bad Boys of Comedy series, and was a very celebrated stand-up comic. And 68 years old, probably too soon, but he definitely lived a very full life, and we had a lot of great times over the years. So R.I.P. to my friend Angel Salazar. He was a big deal. Now, speaking of big deals, Elon Musk boasts of 1 billion views for his interview with Donald Trump. And let me tell you, that's a big deal. Getting any views with Trump related to what you're doing is a big deal, because they love to censor anything conservative, especially anything dealing with Trump. But the interview was considered controversial by some and pulled in a combined 1 billion views, according to Musk, who's now offered to host Vice President Kamala Harris, for a similar chat on X Spaces. And here's the quote. Combined views for the conversation with real Donald Trump and subsequent discussion by other accounts now 1 billion, Musk posted on his social media platform X early Tuesday morning following the interview. The message follows a previous post outlining that between 7:47 p.m. and 10:47 p.m., President Trump's space post, space meeting, that's what it's called, Twitter Spaces or X Spaces, received 73 million views. During that same 3-hour period, there were 4 million posts about Elon Musk and President Trump's conversation on the X platform known as Twitter, still known as Twitter here, generating a total of 998 million views. Woo! Ain't that something? So some of the things that they talked about we discussed last night, but there's still a few things that we didn't. And one of the things that they spoke about, Elon Musk was speaking with Trump about how the media is rewriting Kamala Harris's history. And I think this is funny because, today there was a meme that was going around on social media, and it had a picture of Kamala Harris standing triumphantly behind a podium. And it said, when I get elected, I'm going to change everything. Or I'm going to fix everything. And then it says at the bottom, says the woman who's been in office for 4 years already. And I thought that's got to be, so clever, because that's really what it comes down to, right? And we talked about that last night. Anything she's saying she's going to do, whether it's action at the border or anything else, she's had opportunity. Now, I understand the vice president is seen by many as a ceremonial role, but you do have the power of the bully pulpit. You can look at Mike Pence, for example. Mike Pence stuck to his guns on something he believed in, whether we agree with him or not, and he didn't go with President Trump on what on these counting the I'm forgetting the word here, the certifications. Okay, he used his authority, his bully pulpit, because he knew anything he says as vice president is going to get some play, especially when she's vice president and it's all on the record. Joel Baboso Biden said, look, I want you to know when she speaks, she's speaking for the president, right? He said that. But she doesn't use that authority, and she hasn't done anything other than say, Joe, we did it. We did it, Joe. The Biden-Harris administration, lockstep. This is her inflation. This is her immigration crisis. She broke the border. She's responsible for all of it. She can't distance herself from any of this. She can't. As much as she may want to try. We did it, Joe. That's all she can do. That's all she can say. So anyway, Elon Musk, he talks about what's happening overnight and how the media is changing the story. Listen to this.
Obviously, what's happening sort of overnight is they're rewriting history and making Kamala sound like a moderate when in fact she is far left, like far left.
Worse than Bernie Sanders. She is considered more liberal by far than Bernie Sanders. She's a radical left lunatic, and if she's going to be our president, very quickly, you're not going to have a country anymore. And she'll go back to all of the things that she believes in. She believes in defunding the police. She believes in no fracking, zero. Now all of a sudden she's saying, no, I really want to see fracking. If they got in, the day she got in, she'll end fracking.
Yeah, I tend to believe that because Biden took similar measures the day he got in, right? The pipeline was canceled. I mean, he's just been very, very adamant about not using any federal lands, all those leases, all that drilling, all of that was stopped. Speaking of that, we're scheduling somebody who works on an oil rig and does fracking as well, scheduled to be with us tomorrow to get a little bit of insight on that. So keep your ears open for that. But they continued their conversation, and Elon Musk was talking about how he actually supported Obama, and yet they try to say he's some sort of far right-wing figure. Listen to this.
If you look at my record, I've actually been. I'm not like sometimes they try to paint me as like a far right guy, which is absurd because I'm like making electric vehicles and solar and batteries, helping with the environment, and I actually I supported Obama. I stood in line for 6 hours to shake Obama's hand when he was running for president, and so it's not like I'm like some sort of dyed-in-the-wool long-term Republican. I'd call myself historically a moderate Democrat, but now I feel like we're really at a critical juncture for the country, I think a lot of people thought the Biden administration would be a moderate administration, but it's not, and obviously we're just going to see an even further left administration with Kamala. That's my honest opinion. I mean, her dad is literally. She was brought up as an actual. Her dad is a Marxist economist. You can Google it. I mean, it's not we're not making this up. That's how she was brought up. So, and we want to have a future that is prosperous. And I think we're just at this critical juncture. And I think this is a case of the America is kind of at a fork in the road, and
it's true.
And I think it will take the path to, like, you are the path to prosperity, and I think Kamala is the opposite.
And there's the money shot of that clip, right? I think Kamala is the opposite. She's not the path to prosperity. Now, this is why I'm so concerned when I see polls coming from the Financial Times, when I see all sorts of reporting here, right? Agence France, Mediaite, also 538, Axios. All of a sudden, everybody's got a new poll saying Kamala looks fantastic. Nate Silver the other day said she didn't look like she had a chance. I don't know, it was a week ago. Now that seems to be changing. We're seeing so many different things here. And the one that's the most shocking to me is this one, that Kamala Harris is more trusted on the U.S. economy than Trump. That's according to a poll. You've got to be kidding me. Now, this is the Financial Times and the University of Michigan, the Ross School of Business there. Who in their right mind would trust this woman with the economy more than Trump when each of them has a track record? Well, it begs the question, what are the mechanics of this poll? We're going to find out in a minute with Donald Trump's pollster, John McLaughlin from McLaughlin and Associates, and he's coming up next. Don't move a muscle.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. The best guests, the best opinions. This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Obviously, what's happening sort of overnight is they're rewriting history and making Kamala sound like a moderate when in fact she is far left, like far left.
That was Elon Musk with Donald Trump last night on his Twitter Spaces interview. And El Trumpito also weighed in on the economy.
The thing that they really is making them angry is what Kamala and Biden have allowed to happen to the economy. It's a disaster with inflation. The inflation, it doesn't matter what you make. The inflation is eating you alive. If you're a worker or if you're just a middle-income person, you can't afford. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, people were saving a lot of money. Today, they're using all their money and borrowing money just to live. It's a horrible thing that's happening. And we'll end that quickly.
Well, I think a lot of...
And we'll end that quickly. I hope so. I hope El Trumpito Donaldus Magnus is able to come through and stop that so that Americans can start to prosper again. You heard Musk say that Kamala Harris is not the path to prosperity. These are guys who both know how to make money. But what's interesting is these money publications like the Financial Times, they have a different take on things, right? The Financial Times and the University of Michigan Ross School of Business put together this poll, and the poll says that Harris is more trusted on the U.S. economy than Trump is. And I think this is pretty crazy. So I want to get to the bottom of it with one of my most trusted pollsters. He's a pollster to President Trump and many others. And he's with us now. John McLaughlin, welcome back, sir.
It's a pleasure to be back.
So, John, have you seen this? I'm guessing somebody sent this to you saying, what the heck is going on here? What the heck is going on here?
Well, you sent it to me, but it's very different than any other poll that's out there. I mean, it's very different than the Harvard-Harris poll, which had Trump ahead. It's different than the CNBC poll, which focused on this, which says the headline of the CNBC poll that came out on August 8th, Trump holds 2-point lead over Harris with big advantage on economy, CNBC survey shows. Now, right, so somebody's cooking the books here, and it's probably in the phrasing of the question on this Financial Times poll, but or maybe they did something with the way they ordered the questions or something, but no other poll is showing that, and our polls don't show that either, and when you look at these polls, we went through this in 2016 and we went through this in 2020, where you had the Hillary lock. Even on election day, they said Trump was going to lose. They didn't give us any shot, and or maybe I know it was like very slim shot, very low chances. But in 2020 it was the Biden blue wave, same thing. And what they were doing was they were underpolling Republicans. And you saw that recently with the New York Times Siena polls, because maybe they were too good right after the debate for Trump, where they wanted to get Joe Biden out. And this time around, maybe they're too good for Harris, because you look at the 2020 exit polls in Michigan, and those exit polls, when you had party, you had 38% Republicans in the 2020 exit polls. The New York Times poll this weekend was 34% Democrat, only 29% Republican, 9 points underpolling Republicans compared to the actual turnout in 2020. And in Wisconsin, you had the same thing where Republicans in the exit polls in 2020 in Wisconsin were 37%. And in this New York Times Siena poll, it's only 27%. They changed their model to underpoll Republicans.
So John McLaughlin,
to
let
help
me
Harris.
make this. I hear exactly what you're saying. I'm just wondering, is this something that that is known to be done in the polling world, where I want to have a favorable poll for Trump or for Harris, so I'm going to interview less Republicans and more Democrats? Is this something that happens and nobody calls them out on it?
Yeah, we called them out on it in 2020. We called them out in 2016. And you basically say they're trying to suppress your vote. I mean, because why would they do this? Remember, in 2020, the week before the election, the Washington Post came out with a Wisconsin poll that Trump was down 17 points.
Right,
and the president... President Trump calls me. It was 6 a.m. in Vegas, and he'd just gotten done doing a rally the night before, and he's up the next morning, and he's doing multiple cities on the week before the election tour. And I'm saying, he says, "What's the matter with this poll?" And I said, "Well, first of all, there's 8 points too many Democrats. It's Wisconsin, and Wisconsin is about a third Republican, a third Democrat, and a third independent, roughly. Now we have the exit polls where they were 37 Republican, 32 Democrat in the actual turnout. But he says, so, and I said, there's something else with the independents. They did it. And he says, why would they put out a poll, show me 17 points down a week before the election? I said, well, it's COVID, and there's a lot of mail-in ballots and early voting, and they're 2-1 Democrat. And your people are waiting for Election Day, and they're voting. The Election Day voters are voting 2-1 Republican. All the pollsters know that from the polls we're taking. And I said they're doing it because if it's during COVID, and if it's cold and snowing, and you got to wait on a line, maybe they're hoping your people will go home because they thought you lost. And now they're doing the same thing to help. It helps Harris's fundraising. It helps create some sort of media momentum for, and psychologically, they're trying to depress the Trump voters from coming out. And it didn't work in 2016, and it maybe probably worked in 2020 because they had so much with the ballot harvesting and drop boxes, and in the end, we only lost by 44,000 votes out of the 160 million, really, in 3 states, 11,000 in Georgia, 11,000 in roughly 11,000 in Arizona, and 20,000 in Wisconsin. And, those 3 states, if they'd flipped, Trump would have still been president, and it was very close. And so now, they're starting early. Same thing. Like last night, President Trump had a great interview with Elon Musk over X, and ahead of time they're having the EU send out that they have to watch out for misinformation. I mean, what's that? They're promoting censorship. They want to censor us again because the censorship in 2020 actually did cost us the election, because when they censored the New York Post, the oldest newspaper in the United States, founded by Alexander Hamilton, when they censored the Hunter Biden laptop story, and 36% of the Biden voters didn't know about it, otherwise a good number would have changed their vote. That
went downhill from
election.
there.
Yeah.
Folks, we're on with John McLaughlin, pollster to President Trump. We're coming right back to continue debunking all of these polls that are out here and give you the real story on the numbers. Don't go anywhere. I'm Rich Valdez.
Well, thank you, Rich, and thank you for everything. I know you very well, and I listen, but I have a lot of people that listen, and they love your show, and I appreciate it very much.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
I can't remember a time where we've been through something like this.
This has been the craziest month in American politics that I can possibly recall. It was less than a month ago that Joe Biden and Donald Trump were debating in the CNN debate.
Less than a month.
Less than a month. We had a failed assassination attempt. We had a president literally saying, no, I'm not going to run for re-election, less than a month before the Democratic National Convention. But here is the thing, Sarah Seidner, for all of the excitement that Democrats have over Kamala Harris, It is going to be difficult to beat Donald Trump, and I want to give you an understanding of why. Let's take a look here just first at the favorable views of Donald Trump. We know that Donald Trump has historically been unpopular. But take a look now. After the Republican National Convention, in the ABC News Ipsos poll, he recorded his highest ever favorable rating at 40%. That's not a one-off. Take a look at the Quinnipiac University poll, 46%. That's the highest ever in that pollster. The fact is, Donald Trump is more popular now than he ever has been before. So, yes, Democrats can make this switcheroo, but they're still going to have to beat Donald Trump, a Donald Trump who is stronger, Sarah, than he has ever been before.
That is CNN data analyst Harry Enton just about 2.5 weeks ago describing the strength of Donald Trump and that despite bringing Kamala in, it's not going to be an easy task. Henceforth, why the last 2.5 weeks we've had a barrage of media support, right, laying that air cover so that she can at least presume or appear to be a lot more successful and popular than she actually might be. So the latest in that assist is Time Magazine. They've given her the cover of Time Magazine, labeling her the swiftest vibe shift in modern political history. Isn't that something? And they're saying that this is because of the introduction of Tim Walz and, this little love fest that they had when they came out to the applause and they were just giggling and everything. And I want to get the reaction to both the Time Magazine cover, this vibe shift, how the media is playing a role in all of this from Donald Trump's pollster, President Trump pollster, John McLaughlin. John, welcome back. I want to really pick your brain on this because I think there's a high level of distrust both for Congress and the media. So even if the media is saying she's great and she's fantastic and she's hiring these different viral social media firms to get her more support and paying people $150 to post stuff about her and attend events and that type of thing with rappers and whatnot, I don't know that that's enough AstroTurf marketing to really mimic the grassroots. But maybe I'm wrong. What say you?
Well, I think she had a very good honeymoon period from the media. You've got big tech. By the way, as I mentioned before, the media, they were complaining about Elon Musk because you had like 1 billion people go to the website and check out X or whatever that President Trump did the interview with Elon Musk last night.
Right.
And they want to have censorship. They want to kind of gaslight America. And so she's gotten this wonderful honeymoon account, better press than she's gotten 3.5 years. And the honeymoon's over. I mean, the Trump Super PAC, MAGA Inc., decided to place $100 million worth of ads that are not favorable to her yesterday. And, so she's about to get, reality is about to come crashing in, and it'll be a tougher race. And there's a lot of things she's saying where, Donald Trump was getting a lot of coverage because he was talking about no income tax on Social Security. He was talking about no tax on tips. All of a sudden, she wants to plagiarize and talk about if they hired all these IRS agents, the 87,000 agents, to chase people and change the rules to chase people who earn tips, make them pay more taxes. She says she agrees with Trump that there should be a tax on tips. You can't believe her. She's a phony. And it's up to the Trump campaign to expose that. It's up to our allies to expose that. And you've got a vice president who is incompetent, who is unqualified, who's been ineffective. Look at the record of Biden-Harris on the border, on the economy, on inflation, on crime. They were saying, crime's down. They're talking about the last year. But compared to 2019, it's way up. And they can't end the endless wars. The other day, they can't even let her talk to the press. The other day, somebody slipped in a question, and she's talking about an arms embargo on Israel. Can you imagine? Well, Iran is talking about attacking Israel, and Hezbollah is lobbing missiles into northern Israel. She's talking about an arms embargo on our ally. I mean... But
don't you think that's intentional for her to appease the far left and this voter base that she wants to attract in Michigan and other places?
I think I think she meant it. I think she did. I mean, when she decided not to pick Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, to be her running mate, the media report said it was because he was Jewish. I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine that she didn't pick him because of what he stood for or some issue they disagreed on? She didn't pick him because she didn't want to have somebody who was Jewish on the ticket because of who he was. That's so un-American. That's like, it's one thing about where you stand and debate the issues. It's another thing when you're saying, oh, by the way, anti-Semitism, that's okay. I'm not going to pick you. So, because of who you are. And, we value freedom of religion in the United States. And this is something where, that's who she is. And she picked, instead she picks Tim Walz, who, was in favor of defunding the police like she was, in favor of releasing violent criminals back into the streets. I mean, in favor of higher taxes. They both want to let the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act lapse, which would be the largest tax increase in the history of America, which would raise taxes on 91% of all Americans, kill our economy. So I think we're going to see the real, over the next 84 days or 83 days that are left, we're going to see the real Kamala Harris start to come out now, and covers of Time magazine, covers of Vogue, whatever. It's not going to matter. I mean, people want reality. They want her to debate, and Trump has offered to debate her 3 times in September, and she said yes to
She's
one
agreed
debate.
To one, right? Yeah.
But
now, I want to ask you a question,
on
John McLaughlin, before we run out of time. I want to backtrack just a tad, because you mentioned something that I think is a big deal. At least I think it's a big deal. Maybe you don't, and that's really what I want to find out. I remember in 2022, or 2020 rather, or 2018, in both, there was a lot of distancing of Democrats from their radical left counterparts. I remember a lot of people saying, no, we're not about defunding the police. Biden himself in his State of the Union said, we're not talking about defunding the police. We got to fund the police, right? So there was this shift to get away from that because it was polling miserably. So why is it that she picks this guy? Is it all of a sudden polling better now?
No, because, she's flip-flopped on fracking. She's flip-flopped on the tax on tips. They're going to try the same thing to kind of fake us out, where they're going to they'll pretend they're moderates when they're really not. And the pick of Tim Walz really exposed her because they agree on a lot of radical policies. So it's up to the Trump campaign to point that out. Our allies are starting to do it with the super PACs. And, she's the border czar who says she was never the border czar. She's like, and there's so much video of herself where, they said, Lester Holt called her out in an interview, says, you haven't been to the border.
Right.
And she says, I haven't been to Europe. I mean,
it's hysterical. That's why I find it so hard to believe that people would actually believe that. But, then you look at these fabricated polls where they're under polling Republicans and getting an oversampled size of Democrats, and it makes it look like, wow, she's the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah, and they do it to discourage us, to suppress our vote, and right now it's we've got a battle. We got to be realistic. This is a big battle where big media, big tech, the big Democrat donors, the people that control Washington that have been exploiting the middle class, whether in the Rust Belt or the Sun Belt, they've been exploiting the heartland of America. These are the people that want to they'll shut down the auto industry in Michigan, and they'll send those jobs to Mexico and China, and they'll force us to drive electric vehicles when people don't want to buy them. They can't give them away. So, this is the kind of government control socialism. She's a big government socialist. This is what they want to do, and with that
being said, this big government socialism, we still have her up in the Nate Silver, the 538 poll, by 2.7. So I want to get your thoughts on that when we come back. Folks, we're coming right back with John McLaughlin, pollster to President Trump.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. Night, your home for the best election coverage.
All right, amigos, welcome back. We continue our conversation with pollster to President Trump, John McLaughlin, CEO and partner at McLaughlin Associates. And John McLaughlin, Nate Silver, who's beloved by our friends on the left, 538 is his organization. He had a week ago said he wasn't sure that Kamala could beat Trump. Now I see he's saying that she's up by 2.7 points or 2.7%. What's up with that?
Well, Nate earned his reputation when he called Obama when other people had him losing. But in 2016, and by the way, I don't do well on his scores because 2016, I was saying on Election Day and the week before that Trump could win. It would be close, but we were going to win. And on Election Day in 2016, he had Hillary Clinton's 71% chance of winning. So,
take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, so it's like, you look at his averages, a lot of these 538 averages, they aggregate a lot of polls. There's a lot of partisan pollsters on that, and a lot of them happen to be Democrats. I look at the Real Clear Politics average, and there aren't that many polls, because Real Clear Politics, you have to have some sort of media sponsor and be kind of considered more reputable and less balanced. And I don't blame them. I mean, they don't take my polls because I'm a partisan pollster, but that's fine.
Yeah.
So take ones you think are, somewhat neutral, and there's a mix of them. Some of them still underpolled Trump voters. But when you look at their electoral vote map, they have Trump ahead with 219 electoral votes, Harris Waltz at 208 and 111 toss-ups. And when they go to the no toss-up maps, they have Trump at 287. We need 270 to win. They have Harris at 251. But again, these are really close. Because
whose poll is that?
This is Real Clear Politics average on their map, their electoral map. And when you look at, like there was, and these are Trafalgar and Insider Polling have combined. And when you look at their polls, which kind of offset the New York Times polls, Nevada, they have Trump up 3, 48-45. They have Pennsylvania, Trump up 2, 46-44. They have Wisconsin, Trump up 1, 49-48. North Carolina up 4 for Trump, 49-45. Arizona, Trump up 1, 48-47. In Michigan, they have us down by 2. But it all just
538 has Wisconsin and what's that? Pennsylvania, Harris up by 3. How do they get so drastic? Again, is it the sample that they're just talking to more Democrats than Republicans?
No, 538 has more pollsters that they aggregate on that. So they're taking some partisan pollsters who are Democrat, like PPP. PPP is a known firm that's a Democrat, like it's run by Democrat people, and it leans Democrat. They're on, and they might be on the Real Clear Politics site too, but that's just one example. There's other partisan pollsters that are on that 538 poll aggregator. They list all the polls. Like when I publish a poll, 538 puts it out there if I publish a national poll. But then you got other pollsters like, there's Big Village, there's Bullfinch Group, there's more left-leaning pollsters in their aggregation. Right. And that's fine. Put all the information up there. Some polls are pretty transparent. Like when I put out our polls, they're modeled after the 2020 election. And people could, when we publish a poll, you can go on our website and we'll show you the demographics, the party, the race, the age, the geography, all that. So that, polls change. But at the moment that we take that poll, we're transparent. Other polls, they're not that transparent. And
just not to interrupt, I just want to make sure I don't forget to ask. Is Kamala going to do, how much of an improvement will she provide for her ticket over Biden with African-American voters, and how is that going to cut into Trump?
Well, in our last poll that we published at, it was July 29th, we're out of the field, national poll, 1,000 likely voters. And we had Trump's share of African-American voters falling from 28 to 18. And we also had his Hispanic vote about the same, but the share of white voters, Biden was closer to Trump among white voters, whereas 51-40 Trump. But against Harris, it was 53 to 38. The ironic part is, at the end of June, we had Trump leading. Right the day before, the debate, we had Trump leading Biden nationally by 2, which is for us an electoral landslide because of the way the states are. And Harris, a month later, after Trump trounced Biden in the debate, after an act of God that saved Trump's life from an assassination, a great convention in Milwaukee, we have then all of a sudden Biden, pulls out, picks Harris. We take a poll, the first one with Harris in there as the top of the ticket, and Harris is up by 2. It's like the overall number didn't change at all. But on the other hand, when you looked at the internal shifts were, yes, the Democrats are doing better among African Americans. Yes, Trump was doing better among white voters. It was pretty much the same among Hispanics. But in rural areas, Trump went from a 52-38 lead against Biden to a 62-33 lead over Harris. So there's shifts within the electorate that I think the bases got more polarized. And
and the influence from the media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the influence from the media, definitely. The honeymoon period, is about to end. And she'll have a great week in Chicago, and, CNBC and CNN will report what they want to report, and, Fox News, Newsmax, they'll put out a different version. Right. And there'll be a lot of people that are, trying to find out, well, who's really going to raise my taxes? Who's going to cut inflation? And it's Trump. You compare his record versus
I think that's
Biden
the bottom
and
line.
Harris.
It's
true.
the pocketbook issues.
Yeah. And that and safety. I mean, it's the basic, who's better at keeping us safe and secure and prosperous? And without a doubt, you have a proven president in Donald Trump who's capable of doing that, while you have a Biden-Harris administration that, when you look at the wrong track numbers, 75% of all voters say the country's on the wrong track in our last poll. They say
John McLaughlin, I got to take a
worse,
pause here. Any chance I could hold you for a couple more minutes for one more question?
Sure.
All right, you got it. Stand by. Folks, we're coming right back with John McLaughlin, pollster.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, welcome back. Rich Valdez here with you straight till 1 a.m. Eastern time. And again, our guest, John McLaughlin, pollster to President Trump. Last question for you, and thank you for sticking around, is RFK Jr., does he cut into the votes for Biden or for Trump? He's a spoiler. Who does he help?
He definitely hurts Harris. And you can tell because the Democrats are the only ones trying to knock him off the ballot. They all talk about civil rights and democracy and protecting democracy. Well, Biden forced the guy out of the Democrat primary. Now they're forcing him off the ballot. In New York State, there was a ruling by an appeals court judge that he doesn't live where he says he lives in Westchester or where he's been registered and voting. So they're trying to knock him off the ballot there.
Unbelievable.
North Carolina, their Board of Elections, which is controlled by the Democrats, threw him off the ballot, but a judge put him back on. Georgia, he even though he collected signatures and qualified, they're trying to knock him off the ballot. So I've seen in an Air National poll, he'd lost a couple points because some Democrats, he was helping Trump or hurting Biden more than us. Some Democrats went back home to her, and his vote share has gone down a bit to 2 or 4 points in some places.
But overall,
they want him off the ballot.
All right, I'm going to pause it right there. John McLaughlin, you are a gentleman, a scholar, and a patriot, a wealth of information. Thanks for helping us understand these polls. Folks, give him a follow. Check him out. John McLaughlin, McLaughlin Associates online. I'm Rich Valdez. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Rich.
You bet. We're coming right back.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez. America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media, keeping you company straight till 1 a.m. Welcome to the program. It is Tuesday night. We're live. We're national. And the phone number, if you want to join us, 833-482-5337, 833-4-Valdez. A couple of headlines for you. Steny Hoyer, prominent Democrat, he has had a mild stroke. I really do wish him the best. My dad died of a stroke, and I know how debilitating that can be. So I honestly do wish him the best. And you got Walz defending his military career at his first solo campaign event. And a study finds, listen to this, that TikTok promotes content that's favorable to the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. Go figure. Who would have thunk it? Anyway. A conservative professor got a multi-million-dollar settlement from a school in a workplace retaliation suit. I can't believe that a workplace would ever retaliate against a conservative professor. Unthinkable. And then we've got more than 1 ton, in Spanish, una tonelada, that's 2,000 pounds, of methamphetamine. Meth was found inside celery at a Georgia farmer's market. We'll get to that a little bit more at the top of the next hour, as well as this one. Disney has tried to file a wrongful death lawsuit, and they threw it out because the bereaved party previously subscribed to Disney Plus. Okay, very good. Now, in other things, it's August, mid-August. What's coming around in just a few days, a couple of weeks, maybe for some, less for others? Back to school. Kids are going back to school, and I'm looking at some articles that are showing that a lot of kids are really stressed out, and there's a lot of things that parents can do to actually help them with the stress. But I want you to listen to this report.
This sound will soon become all too familiar in a few days. Now that the class schedule is set, teacher assignments are in place, and school supplies purchased, kids can now breathe a sigh of relief. At least that's what we think. For them, the mounting pressure of choosing the perfect outfit, making new friends, dealing with bullies, being selected for a club or sports team, academic rigors, and tensions at home can really weigh on a child.
A lot of times for kids, it might present more as irritability or anger.
Dr. Margaret Cantor with the University of Alabama in Birmingham says the first week of school is crucial to monitoring their behavior.
If you start to notice that your normally sweet, like mild-mannered child is all of a sudden a little angry or like has a shorter fuse, that can be a sign that they're feeling a little stressed or a little overwhelmed at times.
And Dr. Cantor says to take note if your child has difficulty sleeping or there's a change in appetite. The key here is to listen and not try to make your kids feel good. Just listen. If you don't do that, research shows that can have the opposite effect, and kids will shut down emotionally.
It can really be kind of discouraging if people aren't acknowledging it.
To help, Dr. Cantor recommends finding an outlet to decompress that works best for them. It may look like working out or walking after school, counseling, journaling, breathing exercises, and getting enough rest at night.
I'm Demetria Green, We31 News.
So, kids are going back to school, and everybody's stressed out. Parents are stressed out. The kids are stressed out. And I figured, you know what? We've got to talk to somebody who really knows what's going on. Because Dr. Vince Callahan, who's been on the program before, he's back with us. Dr. Vince Callahan, welcome back.
Thank you so much, man. I love being on your show. Thank you.
My pleasure. And I want you to, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit. I know you've written a book about this, and it's available on your website. Tell us about that, and then let's get into this topic.
So brand new book that just came out called The Family Handbook. It's a free download on our website, drvincecallahan.com or findfl.com. But it's 101 discussion topics about elements that are in a family that should make your family a healthy family. What I've got families doing right now is just taking 15 minutes a day, taking one of the pages, excuse me, of the book and having a discussion moment and centered around the table kind of thing. And it's already doing great impact on families that I've seen so far. So encourage everybody just to download it. It's free. We don't capture email addresses and information and do cookies and all that stuff. Just download the book and use it for your family.
Well, there you go. Make sure you get a copy of the book. It's absolutely free for all of our listeners. Now, Dr. Vince, I want to dig into this because I know this is something that grandparents are going to deal with, parents are going to deal with, everybody's going to deal with in the next couple of weeks. And there's little kids, not too many little kids left in my family, but there's a couple, one in particular that I can think of. And she's a great kid, but I'm pretty sure it gets stressful for her, too. She's 7. She's going to go to 2nd grade. And I'm thinking, what are some of the things that we all could do to make things easier for them? Because you once told me about something called, something you'd written about, the stressed-brained child. And it left me quite an impression thinking, we don't often, my kids are bigger now, right? 19 and 23. And I never thought about them being stressed out when they were little. I thought I was stressed out, and you just got to keep up, kid, because you don't have to pay bills. I pay the bills. But now that I'm older, I realize, they probably were very stressed out too. So let's dig in.
Okay, so the first thing that whether you're a parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle, whatever, your number one priority with kids is to create safety and security. Not only in the physical realm, but in the attitude realm as well. So your job is to create that safety, that sense of safety and security. So everything that you can do to help a child get ready for the school, because anxiety comes when there's a what if. What if this happens, or what if this happens, or what if I can't do this, or what if there's this? And so when you've got the what ifs and the fear of the unknown, that's when you have anxiety. So the more a parent can create a sense of safety and security, this is what you're going to do in 1st grade, or this is what you're going to do in 2nd grade, or here's what it's going to be like to be in middle school or in 6th grade, or here's what it's going to be like to be a 9th grader in high school. So the better you get at creating safety and security, the better and less anxiety that the child has. Because what happens, just like when you start on, we've talked about in the past, you start these kids on screens, they become addicted as they get older. Well, anxiety is kind of the same way. If you have anxiety as a little kid and you don't deal with it, you don't talk about it, you don't work through it, it gets worse as the child gets older. So now you get into the teen years, now you've got a diagnosis of depression, anxiety, which leads to suicide attempts, which leads to isolation. Unfortunately, CDC tells us that the average day, over 5,000 teenagers between the ages of 14 and 17 will actually attempt suicide.
Wow. That's brutal.
Yeah.
That's brutal. And this is all because they're stressed out?
Yeah, it starts with that, yes. The study that you talked about, she talked about 3 different things that were very important. Number 1, pressure. When the kids feel pressure, they're going to do one of 2 things. They're either going to bend or they're going to break. If they bend, they have an attachment history that's healthy with the family so they can handle the stress. But if there's no attachment or bond in the family and there's a lot of tensions in the home, that child's going to break, if you will, emotionally. And when that happens, now you start piling on more anxiety, more depression, and you get into the whole mental health sphere because it just gets worse and worse and worse. Kids, and I'm not picking on parents here, but kids mirror the parents' behavior. That's a known fact. There is no debate over that. What you're doing in your family as a parent, your kids are going to mirror that reaction response, how you process information, how you talk to people, how you talk to them. Your kids are going to mirror whether there's violence in the home, whether there's anxiety in the home, depression, whatever, those kids will mirror what they see, even starting in elementary school.
Folks, we're on with Dr. Vince Callahan, and we're going to continue our discussion on stressed out kids, what it leads to, how to avoid it, and how to prepare everybody listening for what's coming up as we head into back to school. Then after that, a little switch on the topics. We're going to talk to my buddy Curtis Sliwa from New York City, who's out there fighting crime with the Guardian Angel Safety Patrol group, especially following the horrific events that happened in Coney Island just yesterday. So stay tuned for that. But we're coming right back right now with Dr. Vince Callahan. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
There is more news in your commentary, in your analysis, than there is on the news network.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
As kids head back to the classroom, it's important to begin to implement a routine.
As we know, a lot of our schools are structured on a very strict schedule, so we want to go ahead and start introducing that routine at home. So that is morning routine, homework routine, bedtime routine.
Emily Hookstra with the McNabb Center tells 6 News it's important to have open conversations with your kids as the school year begins.
We know at different age levels, their stressors can look different. They have peer stress, social stress, school stress. So if we are starting to see some, maybe with little kids, some outbursts and behaviors, that's maybe a good time to check in. With older kids, we might see reclusiveness or excessive anxiety.
So there we have another report. This one's Molly O'Brien, WATE, from Knoxville, Tennessee. And again, this is all the local news is talking about right now, because kids are really, I guess, delicate, right, is the word I'm looking for. And it's so important as we move forward into this. Now, Dr. Vince Callahan, we left off with you explaining how this stress can lead to suicide, can lead to so many other things, and talking about how important it is for us to listen and to actually hear what they're saying as opposed to anything else. Let's continue where you left off.
Sure. Well, one of the things that I try and teach parents is, instead of asking leading questions, give leading statements. Instead of just asking, because we all know that when parents ask kids questions, even if you ask them open-ended questions, they will typically just say, or yes, or no, or nothing, or it didn't matter, it's no big deal, whatever. They usually give very small responses. But what I try and teach parents is do leading statements. You know, Johnny, when I was in first grade and I was scared and I was this is what I went through. You ever think that might happen to you? And you let them relate to you where you've gone through this, and they connect with your heart, and then they'll open up and they'll talk to you. And so it's a really simple way to get the conversation going, and not just ask them, how was your first day at school? Fine. You know, that kind of a thing. But you really get into the whole leading statements where you're kind of directing that conversation, and you can get some really great information out of even little kids, and even, believe it or not, teenagers. It works for teenagers as well. So it's one of those things where right now, 1 in 3 children deal with school anxiety.
Now, Dr. Vince, I want you to repeat that question for everybody that's listening, because it's always good to have more ammo.
Okay. Leading statements, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, you just gave an example of one. I just want you to repeat it.
Okay, sure. Instead of saying to Johnny, how was your first day of school, or was your first day of school okay, they're going to go yes, no, whatever. So instead of doing that, do a leading statement. Hey, Johnny, you know, when I was in first grade, this is what I felt, and this is what I went through. And I wonder, do you ever feel that way? And they're going to, instead of saying yes or no, they're going to join in the conversation with you, because you've led the way by being vulnerable, transparent, and you are plowing the ground, so to speak, where you're leading them with statements more than just questions. And it really works. It's amazing how you can get a great conversation even with teenagers going. when you do leading statements versus leading questions.
Yeah, it's a great technique, great advice. All right, and go ahead. You were going to get into your next point. Forgive me.
That's okay. No, 1 in 3 children deal with school anxiety or anxiety as a whole. And like I said, unchecked, here's the way to know whether or not you need professional care or not. The first 30 to 60 days of the new school year, normal anxiety is going to be there. They're going to have the anticipation of what's my friends are going to be like and what's my class going to be like and what am I going to do and all those kind of things. But that should subside and go away. If it doesn't, and you start getting into the fear cycles and you start getting into the what ifs and it doesn't course correct, so to speak, in that first 30 to 45 days, that may let you know, that may be a warning sign to you as a parent. Maybe my child has a little bit more anxiety than just a normal, a little bit of afraid of something new. We all get anxious when we do something new, but that anxiety should go away and we should be able to course correct ourselves versus having somebody do it for us. So that's kind of the warning signs to parents. If they can't after about 30 to 45 days, then you might want to get a professional involved.
Now, what about you said kids mirror everything their parents. And again, my own example, I remember I was always stressed out. I was always late. I couldn't find their shoe, the days that I took them to school when they were little, things like that. Right. I was always the one that was, really stressed out. And obviously, I guess, imposing some of that stress on them without maybe realizing it. What are some tips you have for parents to reduce stress? Because, I only started going to the gym now in my 40s. Or maybe late 30s. But, my kids were little in my 20s. I didn't go to the gym. I didn't do a lot of things I should have done to reduce stress.
Right. Well, besides telling them to relax, I always make the joke and tell my parents, choose red or white. And after you've gotten through the summer, even if it's in the morning, just sit down and have a nice little glass of wine and relax and say we got through the summer. But if you don't do that, no, for real, it is about relaxing. It's about, you don't have to put perfection on them. They're going to be okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they don't graduate top of their class. They still graduated. They still got through kindergarten. And so the first thing I just try and tell my parents is to relax. Take a breath and just relax. Like you're talking about, go to the gym, get something where it takes your mind off. We've talked about neural circuits. When a parent is stressed out, what you've got to do is change the circuitry in the brain. You've got to do something different to interrupt that circuit at that moment so that you don't stay going down that rabbit trail.
Right.
So whatever that looks like, redirect it, do something different so that you don't stay where you are and you can get out of it easier. It's the easy way to self-manage.
Now, Dr. Vince, with about 20 seconds to go, tell everybody again how they get a free copy of your book and where to go.
drvincecallahan.com. It's called the Family Handbook. Right there on the front page it says free download, and I encourage you to get it.
Outstanding. Dr. Vince, you're a gentleman, a scholar, and a patriot. I appreciate you, brother. Godspeed.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Folks, check it out. Dr. Vince Callahan. Get your free copy of the book, The Family Handbook. And we're coming right back with Curtis Sliwa. He's going to tell us about this brutal rape. Her boyfriend tried to save her. They beat him up, too. Don't go anywhere.
Mr. Call Screener, who is a budding radio star, by the way. Richie Valdez is terrific.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
This is typically what comes to mind when you think of Coney Island, but on Sunday night, it was a nightmare for a 46-year-old woman. Police tell us she was raped right under this boardwalk.
I would never thought that would something like this happen here.
The incident taking place during the boardwalk's busiest time of the year has sparked concern.
Now we're trying to run shifts around the clock as we can. We do have angels coming in after work, before work.
Jose Gonzalez of the Guardian Angels has patrolled this Coney Island block for 30 years. Since Sunday's incident, his team has canvassed the site numerous times.
It did happen in this area. We never in our widest idea would imagine that we would have to be checking it to make sure there's no pervs or predators hiding underneath the boardwalks.
And right next to the scene of the crime, a common tourist attraction. This happened right here, a children's ride around the corner.
It's so frightful. I mean, I speak to a lot of women. I've had a lot of them approach me earlier today. I tell them, travel in groups. Don't leave by yourself.
And that's the same MO for many of the businesses here on the boardwalk.
When we all close up, we travel in groups at night to make sure we're all together.
In Coney Island, Julia Joseph, News 12 Brooklyn.
So that is what's going on. Again, these 2 illegal immigrants, including one that was charged in a sex assault case 4 months ago, obviously let go, not kept in jail, nothing like that. They raped a woman at knife point, and they beat up her boyfriend when he tried to save her. I mean, this is out of control. This happened in Coney Island in Brooklyn. And let me tell you, I was born in Brooklyn, and I remember as a kid, I was a little kid, a little chubby Puerto Rican kid with my dad, and we went to Coney Island, and we did that pretty regularly. We'd go to Nathan's. And my dad was walking with me, and I remember seeing a bunch of detectives with like NYPD flak jackets running, and they're pulling their guns out, and they tackled somebody right on the boardwalk. I had to be like 6 years old, maybe 7. And I never forgot it. I was like, wow, that was so cool, right? I thought it was the best thing I'd ever seen. Anyway, but when I had kids and I'd moved to New Jersey and, living in the suburbs, I remember one day I said, maybe I should take my kids to Coney Island. And I did. And I took my girls to Coney Island. They were probably like 11 and 7. And what happened that day? A bunch of uniformed NYPD guys tackling some guys on the boardwalk. And I thought to myself, nothing has changed. In the report, the bystander they asked said, I can't believe something like that happened in this neighborhood. I can. It's always been crazy down in Coney Island. But I want to get to the bottom of this. You heard the gentleman from the Guardian Angels speaking. I want to go straight to the source, to Angel One himself, Curtis Sliwa, founder of the Guardian Angels, one of my radio mentors and one of the best voices on New York radio. Curtis Sliwa, welcome back, sir.
No, my hands across America with you once again, Rich Valdez, the liberty-loving Latino.
Yes, sir. This is Curtis Sliwa. Now, let's dig into this because I know that you're there. You guys are on the ground. What's happening?
It's out of control, Rich. Whenever you bring in single, able-bodied men of military age with nowhere to go and nothing to do, and then you enable them by just letting them sit around and smoke weed all day and drink beer, you're going to end up with a recipe for major problems. So especially the Venezuelans who were released from the jails by Maduro, taking a page out of what Fidel Castro did in 1980 with the Mariolitos by shipping them to America, it has added an additional layer that now they've formed organized gangs. So in the case that you just made reference to, you had one guy here illegally from Nicaragua, the other guy illegally here from Mexico, who had paired up and had started to venture out and commit crime. And it drew them to Coney Island. It just so happens that they had committed crimes before in other parts of Brooklyn. But on this particular night, it was described, the Nicaraguan decides to assault and rape a woman who is underneath the boardwalk. And when her boyfriend comes back, who was going for a cup of coffee, the Mexican guy was on lookout, hits him over the head, impairs him. They eventually escape, only to be caught by the police. And then we find this story that is occurring over and over, all over America. Illegal aliens coming in, committing crime, getting charged in the American criminal justice system, only to be released and come back and do it again with no ramifications. They didn't get captured and then shipped back to the country of their origin. They were allowed to stay here in America, and they continue to commit crime. And in the case of the Nicaraguan, as you had mentioned, we put him up in a La Quinta hotel in another part of Brooklyn, $180 a night. He assaulted and raped a woman there in 2023. He only did a year of time, and then he plea bargained it out That's the other major outrage is we have prosecutors who are accepting plea bargains from illegal aliens who commit the most heinous crimes. And after rape and assault, he was out in a year. He's only been out about 2 months. And as you can see, he was the main assaulter in Coney Island.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, it's really difficult to make sense of this because I think, in my opinion, you tell me if you think I'm wrong, all of this stuff is unavoidable, no, Curtis? I mean, we could have avoided it. It's unavoidable if you leave the border open, but it's totally avoidable if we shut the border down.
We'll shut the border down, and also my state of New York refuses to work with Immigration and Naturalization Service, better known as ICE. So therein lies the major problem that even when we catch, as President Trump called them years ago, the bad hombres, we in New York State and other states will not cooperate with ICE, so they will never be deported back to their country of origin. That is absolute insanity, especially when you realize that ICE was started in the aftermath of the attack in 1993 to protect us from people invading into our country who were not here illegally, who were here illegally. And we have chosen, along with other blue states and blue cities, not to work with ICE. And the criminal aliens know that. So that's why they want to come to a blue state like Illinois, like Massachusetts, like California, like New York, because they know their names in the database of ICE will never be searched out, that even if they commit crimes in those states, which some do, they'll do their time here, and they will not be deported back to their country of origin. So they'll be here forever, and they take full advantage of that.
Unbelievable. We let them in, we fund them, we give them a place to stay, and we almost aid and abet these rapes and beatings. Absolutely insane. And remember, it was Kamala Harris, who is known here as Kamala Harris. She said she was in agreement with abolishing ICE, like AOC all out crazy. Folks, we're coming right back with Curtis Sliwa, founder of the Guardian Angels, talk show host extraordinaire. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
Rich Valdez, who again will do a fine job, and I know you'll enjoy listening to it.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
I think this is a fundamental existential issue for the United States. And if we have another 4 more years of open borders, and it's going to be even worse with another 4 more years, it's going to be even worse than it's been for the past 3.5 years. I'm not sure we've got a country.
You don't have a country left. Elon, if they get in, you will have 50 to 60 million people from all over the world, not South America only. You know, we think of South America, we think of Honduras and El Salvador, Guatemala, and Mexico, you know, the 4. But it's not that. It's everywhere. They're coming in from everywhere.
They're coming in from everywhere. Of course, that's former President Donald Trump, who I like to call El Trompito, Donaldus Magnus, the 45th president of these United States. And he was on with Elon Musk, the owner of Twitter, now known as X, with their big billion viewer conversation yesterday. And our guest is Curtis Sliwa. Curtis Sliwa, you deal with so many of these millions of immigrants that are illegally in New York City committing all sorts of crime, because you're in the streets all the time, you're riding the trains, and you've got the Guardian Angels on the streets. Tell us, what's it like right now in New York City with this influx of people?
Well, it has impaired the city. It has cost us, the taxpayers in New York City, $8 billion this year alone, 2024. It's estimated next year, 2025, it will cost the taxpayer of New York City $25 billion to house them, clothe them, feed them, and basically give them all the amenities that even our veterans who may be down on their luck, who may be homeless themselves, veterans of peacetime or wartime, do not even receive. But let's go back to when this first occurred. And we saw that the state of Texas was being overrun. And Governor Abbott said, enough is enough. I can't take this. We're not a sanctuary state. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to rent buses, and I'm going to send the illegals as they come across the border, since Joe Biden will not stop them. In fact, he actually encourages their arrival here. And I'm going to ship them to the sanctuary cities. And in each and every case, but more so New York City, Eric Adams, the swagger man mayor with no plan, stepped forward, and he accused Abbott of being a racist, and he said, come one, come all. We're New York City. We'll take care of them from the cradle to the grave. And at first, it appeared that we were more than able to handle the influx. But now, after 200,000 have arrived and more are coming, many of them who have mental issues that they're dealing with, many who are already involved in criminal organized gangs in their countries of origin. It has just been the death knell for the city. He has actually gone on record as saying this migrant situation will destroy New York City. It's not just destroying New York City, it's destroying America. Because the more that come in, eventually you're going to see a system where there's a complete breakdown of law and order and the criminal justice system, because there's two standards of justice. There's justice for us, and that isn't working very well, Rich. As you know, it's a turnstile justice system for Americans and those who are naturalized Americans. But for the illegal aliens, the migrants, they're untouchables, even when they get caught shoplifting and boosting products. Even when they get caught in vehicles that are stolen, even when they are selling contraband like drugs, and they get arrested because they are illegal aliens, because they are given special status by the Biden administration, especially when they're from Nicaragua, Venezuela, Cuba, and Haiti. They come back and they continue to do it again and again and again. And it is impairing our cities, our urban areas in blue states and blue cities, and more importantly, sanctuary cities, and it is having a horrible impact on our country. That's why it is the dominant discussion of this political campaign. President Trump addresses it all the time, as he did with Elon Musk last night for a good part of the 2 hours that they spoke, and it's the reason that Kamala Harris, Giggles Harris, will not even address the issue. Because, remember, she was in charge of the border. She was the border czarina. She went down there with Mayorkas. Oh, that's right. She didn't even go down there.
That's right. She made it as far as El Paso.
Right. And now they act as if through revisionism, she had nothing at all to do with the border alone. Now, if the American people accept that nonsense, we're doomed to have 4 more years of a Biden policy at the border. And worse yet, there are individuals who are here who are not just coming into America to commit crime or to work or raise their families for whatever reason they came. They're terrorists. They're embedded into our country. They're prepared to strike us. You see already the Iranians issued a fatwa against Donald Trump, and it is of my opinion that they're doing everything within their capacity to make sure that Donald Trump is dead. Imagine how many other sleeper cells have embedded themselves around this country, and they're just waiting for the orders to strike. And they will strike because we've made it so easy for them to come in, get set up. We put them in hotels, giving them 3 squares a day, iPhones, smartphones, culturally appropriate food. We've given them transportation. We've given them the means to strike at the heart of America. And more than likely, it'll be New York City again. They hit us once in 93. They hit us again on 9/11. And you know, they wanted the third time for them will be the charm. They want to run the board, and we're making it so easy for them to do that.
Curtis Sliwa, I think I couldn't have said it any better myself. We've got a major problem here. I want to, I want to get your take on how this is going to parlay into the 2024 election. So put on your political analysis cap when we come back. Folks, we're coming right back with Curtis Sliwa.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. Call now, 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
All right, amigos, welcome back. We continue our conversation with Curtis Sliwa, founder of the Guardian Angels, talk show host extraordinaire, and former candidate for governor of the city of New York. Curtis Sliwa, are you going to run for governor again? I mean, for mayor?
Oh, maybe I'll do both. I'll do the daily double. I'll run for mayor next year in 2025, and then eventually run for governor of the state of New York. You've laid out my life for the next few years, Rich.
Yeah, if you do run for mayor, when are you planning on announcing?
Next year, after the presidential election, which obviously we should know in November who wins, unless there's some chaos in the electoral process. But definitely no later than after January 20th, when it's expected the president would be sworn in. But I will tell you this, Rich. We will see cities like mine, New York City, and Chicago, and Los Angeles, those that have been most devastated by the illegal invasion of all these migrants. They will continue to vote for Democrats. They will continue to support illegal immigration. And it will lead to their demise, their economic demise, the demise of capitalism, and the continued fear that will lead to fright and flight that is causing those cities to lose massive population. It happens every day in Los Angeles, every day in Chicago, and every day in my city of New York City.
Now, Curtis Sliwa, what's your thought on Kamala Harris, Vice President Tim Walz? These people are pretty radical, pretty left-wing, pretending to be sort of moderate. Do you think that this little campaign that they've got going on where the media is in this little honeymoon phase, do you think that continues and gets them to the finish line in November? Do you think El Trompito makes it back into the White House?
Well, I think if Donald Trump just focuses on the issue, he'll be back in the White House. If he gets caught up in all the drama of the scarecrow of Minnesota and Giggles Harris and continues to malign them and pick at them personally, well, remember, there's a whole new generation of people who didn't vote the last time who are now capable of voting this time. They could be the difference. But if Trump sticks to the issues, it's a winning ticket. Problem is, he sometimes gets distracted, as you know, Rich.
He gets a little excited. Folks, we're on with Curtis Sliwa. Check him out on WABC Radio. He's fantastic. Every day he's got the Rip and Read at 11:45 or noon. Make sure you check him out. Curtis Sliwa, you're a gentleman, a scholar, and a patriot. Thank you, sir.
Anytime. My hands across America to Rich Valdez.
Coming right back. Open Phone America.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Happy to be here with you this Tuesday night, live and national. The phone number is 833-482-5337, 833-4-Valdez. And El Trompito has agreed to 3 debates with Kamala Harris, and still she has not agreed to do all 3. She's only agreed to do 1. I wonder what's up with that. We're going to get into that in a little bit because Representative Dan Goldman, he was one of the main impeachment attorneys, or congresspeople, but he's an attorney, that was going after Trump way back when they had that indictment. He had a little bit of a meltdown on TV when he was asked about this. I want to get into that in a second. But I just want to remind you of some of the headlines. I went over these a little while ago. If you're just tuning in, you're going to hear them for the first time. If you're sticking around, I went over them a little bit before. The New York Post has a story on Steny Hoyer, who I believe is the Senate, either the whip or the deputy minority leader or something like that. Somebody fact check me on that. But Steny Hoyer had a mild stroke. I really do hope he's okay. I know that the damage of stroke can be absolutely brutal. Then you've got a study that finds that TikTok promotes its content, which tends to be favorable to the Chinese Communist Party. Go figure. Let me see. What else we got here? There was more than a ton of meth found inside of celery at a farmer's market in Georgia. Maybe that's the kind of celery that Funny Willis was chewing on and why she does all these crazy things. Well, I don't know. And then we're going to talk about Disney. There's some crazy stuff with Disney I'll get to in a little bit. You don't want to miss that. But let's go back to what I just mentioned about El Trompito, right? He says, yeah, I'll debate Kamala Harris. Of course I will. She says, all right, I've agreed to 1 debate, but why not the rest? Maybe she's scared. Anyway, her colleague from when she was in Congress as a senator, Dan Goldman, was on Fox News Channel with Brett Baer. Listen to this.
If I'm Donald Trump, I understand why he doesn't want to debate. Kamala Harris is
he's
a
accepted
former
3.
prosecutor.
He
Said
yes to September 4th, September 10th, September 17th. He said yes to a lot of them. So it's not that he's obviously afraid to debate.
No. So no. He had agreed to September 10th. Well, on ABC.
With Biden, who got pushed out.
What's the difference? Why should he not debate whoever the candidate is on September 10th as he agreed to? What is the difference between candidate Biden and candidate
it's fine.
Harris?
He said he would do it. I'm just saying he's also agreed to other debates. You said he hasn't agreed to others. He has. It's the Kamala Harris campaign that hasn't agreed on the other side.
You got to love those moments, right? You got to love those moments when the facts just trump everything else. And that's ultimately how it goes, right? Unbelievable, the way these guys are. They're on the rampage there, going after El Trompito. You know, it's a very weak thing to do, I think, to say that Trump is afraid to do this or he's afraid to do that. It's really not part of the Trump character, right? Trump's not the character that displays. You're better off going, he's so hot-headed, he's such an angry person that he's make a quick reaction. People will probably believe that. But I don't think anybody's going to believe that Trump is scared of Kamala Harris. Why on earth would he be afraid of Kamala Harris? Why would anybody? I mean, I don't care what any poll says. I really don't. I've heard this woman speak for a lot. I would not be afraid to debate her. I'm sure that she, has some courtroom experience and rhetoric and logic, and she's debated on the presidential stage before, and she's got some experience. But I've seen it. Other than that one good zinger that she had for Biden, and again it was because he's an old white man, and she's a woman of color, and was talking about busing, a racial issue. But for that, she didn't have a very powerful performance. Nothing she's ever done. I mean, what about the time that she said that North Korea was our ally? Yeah, that was a bad one. I mean, there's just so many of these. I don't see her as being somebody that should be feared on any debate stage, on any topic. She's just I don't know. In my opinion, it doesn't come across as an effect. Hillary Clinton, I would say, is probably a lot more effective at being a debater, but not Kamala Harris. She doesn't even really come across as authoritative. She hasn't really earned much yet. It's not like if she could come to the debate stage and say, now you listen here. I am the border czar. I have been down to that border a dozen times. And each and every one of those times, I've spoken with the people that are down there, the men and women in ICE, the ranchers, the families that are there, the people that have dealt with the brunt of this. And I understand this issue like nobody else does. So I know your type, Donald Trump. Yeah, then that would be very powerful. But she can't do that. She's never been there. She went to El Paso, which is not even that close. It's not like it's McAllen or Brownsville. She didn't go far enough. And if you remember, when she made the visit, they cleaned the whole place up. They kicked everybody out. They made sure it was, spotless. So what does that do for anybody? Nothing. And it doesn't do anything for her, in my opinion. I don't know. Anyway, I want to get to your calls. We've got the phone lines are open for you. It's Open Phone America. You can weigh in on anything that we've talked about tonight. And, of course, we had a lot of conversation from the stressed brain child, why kids get stressed out with respect to going back to school and stuff like that. We also had a conversation about the polls, right? The polls are fake and phony and fraud, and we learned a lot about why with John McLaughlin, who explained that many of these polls are just undersampling Republicans. So if they speak to more Democrats than they do Republicans, they are going to get more Democrat responses. And, one would think that reputable polling organizations wouldn't do that, but one would be wrong. And we talked about that in depth on so many different polls that are out there and different questions that were showing that Kamala Harris not only up, but that people somehow believe that she is the best for the economy, which I thought was crazy. I mean, you could hate Trump as much as you like. There's a lot of things that you may not like about a lot of things. But ultimately, I don't think one of those is that she's better on the economy. I mean, that's just so far-fetched. What's she ever done for the economy? What are her credentials on the economy? What is the purpose of doing such a thing? I'm just lost, right? I don't understand why. I really don't. But this is what's happening. So anyway, folks, again, that number 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ. We got calls from Florida, Alabama, Maryland, and more on hold. A few lines are open. I'm going to take a pause. We're coming right back. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
I happen to be the first union member on a presidential ticket since Ronald Reagan. But rest assured, I won't lose my way.
Okay, that's Tim Walz. Some call him Tampon Tim, others call him Tim A. Walz. And I don't know what he's trying to prove here. He's trying to make it seem like he's very pro-labor. He was talking to a bunch of city and municipal workers. But he's a better speaker than Kamala Harris. I think he's a lot more effective. And again, that comes with being a governor, right? It comes with being a chief executive of a whole entire state. And he brings a lot more to the table. And again, this is no glowing endorsement, but being a governor, 2 decades in the military, Kamala doesn't bring any of that to the table. She can't speak authoritatively to anything. Now, again, I understand he's got the whole stolen valor thing. Sure, I'm not making any special plead here for Tim Walz. But I'm just saying, comparing the two of them, you know, if I had to choose between the two of them, I'm still debating her. Because unlike Molly Jong Fast from Vanity Fair, I don't believe that Kamala Harris is a gifted orator, or I think she said a really gifted Obama-level orator. And Molly Jong Fast is one of those, you know, pretty crazy lefties that's always out there, got something crazy to say. But when you go and you say that Kamala Harris is a really gifted Obama-level orator, I might agree with that, only because I think Obama was a powerful speech giver because he was really effective at the teleprompter. Because there's a number of videos where the teleprompter goes south on him, and then he just starts to sound like, But even then, I think, by and large, nobody's ever saying, oh, my gosh, that Kamala, she's some orator. Listen to this.
I think it's a really good campaign, and people really like her. She's gotten to be a really gifted Obama-level orator. And, you know, she was very much underestimated by the mainstream media. And quite frankly, she has command. You hear her up there, and she is confident, she is calm, and she is commanding. And for whatever reason, America is ready for her, which is very exciting.
Hold on a second here. She has command? Now, listen, I am biased in this, right? I don't want her to win. But I don't believe she has any command. There's no commanding presence about her. She says she goes up there and she's confident. That I would agree. She is confident. She's calm occasionally. Commanding? No way. And for whatever reason, America's ready for her. Oh, boy. I don't think America's ready for Kamala Harris. We're dealing with her already. See, that's the part that gets me. Kamala Harris has been in office for almost 4 years as vice president, as part of the Biden administration, as the borders are. She's been here every step of the way. Nothing has gone well. She's part of the Inflation Reduction Act. She's part of all of these schemes that Biden has pulled off. None of them have benefited the American people. Why do you think they got rid of Biden? They knew he wouldn't win. Why? Because he was so abysmal on the economy, on the border. These are the same issues that are going to tank her. That's my opinion. I want to get yours. Let's go to the phones. Let me see. Where do we go here? Where do we go? Let's go to St. Augustine, Florida, and check in with Walter on WFOY. Go right ahead.
Hi, Rich. I hope you're well tonight.
I am. Thank God.
I'll be brief. Good. Yes, thank God. I'll be brief. On your guest, Curtis Sliwa. We met him and beautiful Lisa, his wife, one time down in Nassau and Berkeley Streets back in the late 70s. And he really was an angel for the Big Apple, as you are for the radio. But Rich, here's one guy you don't want to mess with, especially in his youth. And Rich, he's one of the toughest men who ever wore shoes.
Yeah, let me tell you, Curtis Sliwa I think he turned 70 this year. And I worked with Curtis for a number of years, and we're very good friends. And I remember him coming up from downstairs. We used to have a studio right above Madison Square Garden, 17 floors above Madison Square Garden, honestly, and to Penn Plaza. And he came up after having a fight downstairs where somebody hit him in the face with a hammer. And he was holding his jaw. This was like 5 years ago or 4 years ago. And he's holding his jaw, and he's like, I just got hit with a ball-peen hammer. A ball-peen hammer. The guy grabbed it, took it to my jaw. I think I might have a fracture. And I was like, wow. He's like, what'd you do to him? He's like, oh, yeah, we clocked him. He's out. But, yeah, you're right. The guy is tough as nails, and he is a blessing for the city. He's fantastic. Love me some Curtis Sliwa. Thanks for sharing that story, Walter. And before you go, let me ask you, do you think that Kamala Harris is a Obama-level orator?
I think I understand what you said. I'm sorry.
I said,
Rich.
do you think that Kamala Harris is a Obama-level orator?
What is that orator? You know, I only made the eighth grade. I'm sorry.
A speaker. No, that's fine. That's the word that the woman used. Someone who gives speeches.
Yeah, well, yeah. They're both good at being phonies. That I can tell you. I can tell you that. Rich, R&R, Tim, is another one. Rest and relaxation, Tim. That's a military term.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Well, everybody likes some R&R. He's taking a little bit too much of it, I guess. Thank you, Walter. I appreciate it. Big shout out to everybody listening on WFOY, St. Augustine, Florida. Let us continue. I want to go to Alabama here. Let's go to Dothan, Alabama. WDBT. Check in with JW. Go right ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Valdez. It's an honor. ¿Cómo está?
Thank you. Muy bien. What's going on, brother?
Look, I just wondered to debate which one is going to show up, the Indian or the black woman.
I don't know.
Kamala Harris, she's not an Obama orator grade. She does a lot of verbal salad when she talks.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot listen to her. But I'm going to tell you what, if Trump will stick to the issues and quit getting drawn out on the, she done this, she done that. I know he gets excited, and I love Trump. He's going to carry Alabama because, we don't really matter in the electoral bill. But anyhow, he'll stick to the issues. That's a winning ticket, I think. The border, the economy, such and such. But I'm going to tell you what, if we don't get a hold of this thing and save this country.
No, I think we've got a hold of it. I'm going to say, trust me. I don't know what that's worth to you, J-Dub, but I'll tell you this. The economy hasn't improved. Maybe somewhat on inflation, but by and large, it really has not. The border has not improved. In fact, they're ramping up citizenship right now to get as many people approved to be citizens as possible. This is clearly something that Democrats are trying to do because it's getting close to election time and they want to be, the party in power. So I think you're right. As long as we're on the issues, and Trump is always going to be on the issues because he's running the entire campaign on the issues. He takes shots at them. That's what he does. Pocahontas, and he always comes up with a clever name for people to kind of and make them a little bit more diminutive, if you will. But ultimately, this has always been about the issues, and that's where he nails it every single time. I guess it's kind of easy to get off track with some of these characters sometimes, but I agree with you. They're not it. They're not it. And Trump is going to win on the issues, in my opinion. JW in Dothan, Alabama, WDBT, thanks for the call, brother. Folks, we're coming right back with the rest of your calls and more. And we've got calls from Montana, Indiana, Arkansas, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and more. Hoping that you'll give us a call before the end of the night. 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ. I'm Rich Valdez, coming right back. Open Phone America.
No hair, no care, and live on the air. It's Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
All right, America, welcome back. We continue our discussion with you all, the American people. We got calls from South Carolina, Arkansas, Indiana, Montana, Ohio, and more. The number's 833-4-VALDEZ, 833-482-5337. Before we get to your calls, I want you to hear a clip of audio from our buddy James O'Keefe, investigative journalist, who is exposing some crazy stuff about Disney. Listen to this.
Walt Disney Company is paying for puberty blockers for children. Take a look at this damning document that was provided to us from an insider at Disney today. As you can see on your screen, if you work at Disney, the company allows you to receive puberty blockers for your child, an irreversible sterilization drug that changes the life of your child forever. Internally, Disney pays a medical plan through Cigna Healthcare. Through Cigna, Disney employees have access to counseling, prescription coverages, provider referrals, and yes, puberty blockers for minors. It all starts with referrals. Employees and their dependents can be referred by their healthcare providers for these treatments, which are then covered under Disney's medical plan with Cigna. Let me repeat this again. This internal document that we received from a whistleblower working at the Walt Disney Company reveals that the Walt Disney Company is paying for puberty blockers that sterilize children and completely change the course of their body forever. This is a new but heartbreaking development in our Disney series. As a response to these tapes that have been coming out, we released the GET video showing what they were doing, putting pressure on their colleagues to make those transitions. But this is a developing story. We're going to be reaching out to Disney for comment again. We talked to multiple vice presidents. They kind of stonewalled us. If you're on the inside of Disney, we urge you to come forward and contact us at Signal 914-315-9415. DM us on social media, and someone from OMG will reach out to you. Thank you so much to those of you inside Disney that have a conscience. Follow your conscience. The public has a right to know. Thank you, and stay tuned.
So could it be that Disney is doing this crazy stuff, promoting puberty blockers for their people? I don't know. We're going to find out more as James O'Keefe puts that out there. But something else that Disney's been doing is there's this lawsuit that they're involved in here, and they're looking to get the suit tossed out because this NYU doctor, the widower, was a subscriber of Disney Plus. This is very twisted. Listen to this. Disney's trying to get a wrongful death lawsuit filed by a New York University doctor's grieving husband tossed out because he signed up for Disney Plus, the streaming service, years earlier. This person's name is Kanakpon Tangusan, and her bereaved husband, Jeffrey Piccolo, is currently suing the theme park juggernaut, claiming that she suffered a fatal allergic reaction shortly after eating at Disney Springs restaurant in Florida last October. But Disney is now claiming that the $50,000 lawsuit should be moved out of the courts because Piccolo agreed to arbitrate all disputes with the company when he first signed up with a 1-month trial of Disney Plus streaming service in 2019. So just imagine that. Because you're at a Disney theme park and you get an allergic reaction to some food you have there, you die as a result of this, and now you're suing them, and they say, no, well, you can't sue us because you agreed to do a binding arbitration when you signed up for our streaming television service. I don't know if that's going to fly in court. I'm guessing that the contract says any interaction, any lawsuit, any whatever with Disney Corporation and or its subsidiaries, right? I'm pretty sure it says that. But will a judge actually allow this to happen? I don't know. But I'd love your thoughts on this, as well as everything else that we're talking about. We'll keep getting into that in a moment. I want to go back to the phones. Let's go to Joe, Salem, Arkansas, KSAR. Go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, the Disney Corporation has become a real disgrace. I wouldn't take any children or grandchildren there ever again like I did mine when they were young. As far as I'm going to go to the burning now. I got to thinking about it. That would be an excellent thing to have with the pepper balls to run off these unleashed neighbors' dogs that are always coming around and causing trouble. I bet that would fix them for good.
Oh, boy. I don't recommend shooting dogs.
No, without killing them. You know, from a distance, that would be good for them. No, I don't like to kill anybody's dog, even if it is running wild.
Christy Nome got in a lot of problems for that, so be careful, Joe.
Oh, absolutely. But, it's better than running them off with a stick, maybe. I'm going to look into it a little more anyway. But I'll tell you what, those animals on the boardwalk, now them kinds suffer from a mineral deficiency, namely lead. and the Bible teaches us if you come upon that kind of criminal activity in the act, you can slay them.
No question. I would think that that's appropriate. I mean, I can't imagine. And again, the poor lady's boyfriend tried to help her out, and these guys double teamed him. And it's just horrible to think. And then, raping her at knife point. Horrific what happened there. And yeah, I'm with you. I think you've got to give a severe penalty to these people to keep them in line. How on earth, who in their right mind does such a crazy thing, Joe?
Well, Curtis, that's the point. They are absolutely demon, devil possessed. And Curtis is right. The problem all started at the border. But how many hundreds of thousands or millions like that are running around all over? And yeah, they're people around here where I'm at don't try it in a small town like the song says, because that'll be the last woman they beat up, and her boyfriend too. Now you know what, he should have. There again, you told me before, you probably can't even get a permit up in the Northeast very easily, but her boyfriend should have been carrying a double stack handgun.
I'm with you on that one too.
That's my thought on that, and I'll let you go. Back to you, Rich.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Joe in Salem, Arkansas, listening on KSAR and occasionally on WLS because it comes into Arkansas. So thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. Let's keep going. Let's go to Carl, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Go right ahead, Carl.
Hi, Mr. Valdez. About 15 minutes ago, you said that you didn't think that El Paso was on the border.
Well, no, I didn't think. It's not that I don't think El Paso's on the border. It's that El Paso is on the border, and obviously next to Chihuahua, Mexico, and all of that. The problem is that's not the port of entry. That's the problem. It's where Eagle Pass is, right? The real issue that the country's facing, where it's open, where the Rio Grande is near McAllen and Brownsville. And that's where President Trump has been. That's where J.D. Vance has been. That's where anybody who wants to see active crossings at the border and where the Border Patrol is focusing all of their effort, it's there. And if you find, a camera-ready part of the border where there's no action and nothing's really happening, to go and purport yourself like the borders are and say, "Hi, I'm Kamala Harris. I'm here in El Paso." That's fantastic. You're at the International Bridge in El Paso. Fantastic. The problem is the problem isn't coming from that area of the border. So I think, for her to not really attend where the problem is really the problem, Carl.
Yeah, right. So you meant that it's really not a problem area on the border.
Right. Yeah, it's not the hot spot for sure. But thanks for your call, Carl. I appreciate it. Big shout out to everybody listening on Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, WRNN. Let us continue. Let's see. What do we got here? Let's go with Matt, Bedford, Indiana, WBIW. Go right ahead, Matt.
Thank you for taking my call, Rich.
Yes, sir. My pleasure.
Yeah, I just wanted to express my concern that I've got things that I've saw in this country over the last few decades, and it doesn't look good the way the country has gone. For example, I don't understand why it seems that, there's such close races right now and everything polls so close and all this when we've got all this high inflation, the economy so bad. If you take this and contrast back when Reagan, I think it was his second term, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he won 49 states.
Yeah, it was 84, right?
I think so, yeah. And I think he won 49 states. And as far as I can remember, it seems that every time there was problems with economics and things like that, people kind of woke up and they would kind of go to the other side or something, And now it just seems like it doesn't matter how bad things get. It doesn't matter how high the groceries, the gas, everything gets. They still want the same thing in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you know what, Matt? I believe that is a problem, and it's part of the problem. But what it really ultimately, in my opinion, is the media and the left within the media. We have more media now, right? There was a lot more media now than there was back in 1984 when Reagan was running for re-election. You had 3 major networks, NBC, ABC, CBS, and I don't think we had CNN back then, not in 1985. And so there wasn't really cable news, and you had newspapers, and you had a few big newspapers. You had the Washington Post and the L.A. Times, the New York Times. You had a handful of big national papers, but it was a different type of media, and they were against him big time. But today we have social media. We have so many ways. Look, Trump has gotten his message out with Elon Musk last night. To now, I think it's 2.3 billion people have seen or listened to this interview. Remarkable. Absolutely remarkable that happened. That these things weren't possible before. But in the same way, it works for the other side as well when they can, manipulate the information that's being put out there. And I think that's what's happening. I think you have a lot of gaslighting. Our first guest tonight, John McLaughlin, to try and put this simply, he basically said if they're going to oversample Democrats and undersample Republicans in a poll, they're going to come up with a favorable result. And he said there are a number of partisan polling organizations that participate in the polls that are in question, like the 538 poll and others. So that makes sense. This is designed to sway people. In effect, it's propaganda. And that starts to discourage people on the Trump side and encourage people on the Harris side. The only issue is it's not real. So we have to stay the course. And I'll continue that on the other side of this break. Matt, thank you for your call. Godspeed to you, brother. Hang in there. It's not as bad as you think. Big shout out to WBIW in Bedford, Indiana. I'm Rich Valdez, coming right back.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. This is America. This is Night. This is Rich Valdez.
Obviously, what's happening sort of overnight is they're rewriting history and making Kamala sound like a moderate when in fact she is far left, like far left.
Worse than Bernie Sanders.
Worse than Bernie Sanders is right. And when he says they, he's talking about the media. The media is rewriting Kamala Harris's history. And creating not only just a moderate, but creating this AstroTurf effect that somehow the rallies are just overwhelmingly popular, that she's just the most popular game in town, that the Democrat base is completely enthused, and they might be. The problem is there is no issue attached to this, right? There's no her saying, and we've brought down inflation, and we're going to continue to bring down inflation. And again, inflation has gone down. Why she's not taking credit for it, I have no idea. She should. It would be a wise thing to do. She's not talking about the issues. She's talking about knowing Donald Trump's type. She's talking about knowing that he is a rapist and a racist and a this and a that and all these other things that she claims. But the bottom line is, she's not campaigning on the issues because she can't say that they've secured the border. She tried saying the border is secure. Remember when she did that? Man, she got laughed at for that one. This is not a good place for her. It is not a position of strength for her. Let's go to David, San Francisco, California, streaming the show, richvaldez.com. Go right ahead, David.
Oh, thanks, Rich. Yeah, I was just noticing, Trump isn't really campaigning very much right now.
Why would you say that?
Well, I think that the biggest part of it is that not only is he a cheapskate, but he basically...
Forget about being a cheapskate. Let's talk about why you think he's not campaigning. He was just in Minnesota. He's probably done 5 rallies in the last 5 weeks.
Right.
That's more than Harris has done.
As opposed to a multitude. And if you think about just the, he owns his own jet, right? Do you know how expensive it is to run a jet?
Pretty expensive.
Right. And he's not only a cheapskate, but I'm going to bet that the structure of that jet is falling apart. And
no, they actually redid Trump Force One last year. It was a really big overhaul. There's a whole big article about it, about how they redid it. They redid the outside of it. They put gold letters on it. You're wrong on that one. And as far as cheapskate, I don't know. Listen, I don't have the balls to call anybody who owns a 757 or 767 that owns their own plane and uses it for their campaign. I can't call that person a cheapskate because I can't even afford to buy a jet, right? Kamala Harris uses Air Force Two, which you and I pay for. So I don't know. Who's the real cheapskate here, David?
Well, the taxpayer doesn't pay for Air Force Two. Her campaign pays for it when she's on campaign. And that's standard. Unless
she has official business in those places and schedules a campaign stop while she happens to be there.
Oh,
they call that incumbency protection, right? So I know the game, so I know how it works. And listen, she's got so many advantages here because she's got the bully pulpit. She's in office, but ultimately the advantage she doesn't have is on the issues. She's not going to be able to say that she is somehow helping at the border. She really can't make any claim to doing anything with the economy. Because the record that her administration has over the last 3.5 years is one that doesn't put her in a strategic or winning position against Trump. When you ask somebody, are you better off today than you were when Trump was president on the economy? I don't think she's going to win. When you ask somebody, are you better off today than when Trump was in the White House on the border? They're going to say the same thing. No, the border was more secure under Trump. The economy was more regular under Trump, despite the end of it, where COVID in that fourth year. But outside of that, the track record is solid. So I don't think he really has a chance there. And again, back to your original point that Trump is not on the campaign trail. Number one, it's not really a great idea to campaign in August. Most campaigning kicks off after Labor Day. But, I mean, look at this. You got Wednesday, August 14th. Trump is going to be in Asheville, North Carolina, rally. Saturday, August 17th, Trump is going to be in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. This is his 5th trip to Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. You tell me if Kamala Harris is going to show up in Pennsylvania 5 times. Doubt it. Then you've got Wednesday, August 14th, again. So Trump is in Asheville, and you've got J.D. Vance in Michigan. These guys are hitting it. No question, they're out there, and they're out campaigning the other team for sure. David, thanks for the call. I got to take a pause right here. We're coming right back with the rest of your calls in the speed round.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, to the phones we go. Let's go to Wayne, Smithfield, Utah, KVNU. Go right ahead.
Hey, Rich. Great to hear your show. Listen to it quite frequently. You know how Trump has the acronym MAGA for Make America Great Again. With Kamala, we could use MALA for Make America Lousy Again.
I love that, Wayne. That's great. It fits perfect with me. Kamala Harris. I love it. Make America Lousy Again. And shout out to Paul in Zanesville, WHIZ. America's catching on to Kamala's lies. I think you're right. And Frank in Evergreen, Montana, KOFI, Walls and his brain. We'll get into that tomorrow. I appreciate it, folks. Hasta la próxima. Take care. Good night. And God bless. I'm Rich Valdez.